Welcome to the You Decide podcast. I'm Dr. Tiffany. We are going to bring you stories of ordinary people who have chosen to live an extraordinary life, outside of their comfort zones and into confidence, possibility, and certainty. You are just one decision away from living your most aligned life, because let's get real, that's what we all want. Welcome to the You Decide podcast, where we chat with ordinary people living an extraordinary life. This is the mom version to Tiff and Callyn having coffee talk. Every segment that she and I do, I'm going to do a mom version follow-up. As so many people have asked, what did you do with your kids in this situation? Or what would you recommend I do? Or when I work with these kids and families in the office, can you share that with my kid? Because they'll listen better to you than me. And there's so many things that I feel like coming from the mouth of babes and coming from the mouth of a parent are two different situations, yet it's because it's coming from a different perspective. And sometimes we're so in our own head or our own life that we don't see, as in quotes, you can't see me right now, but we don't see them. So they go to school and they go to practice and they come home and you maybe have supper because maybe not. Different stages of life, family suppers are difficult. I can share that. But when we're engrossed in our life or in our challenge, in our relationships, in our money struggle, in our health challenges, we're not able to be clear enough to see them and to see where they might struggle and where we can help them. And so this is a follow-up to our conversation about middle school brutal. As she says, sometimes you just got to get through it. And if you can get through it unscathingly, it's successful. It doesn't mean it was good. So she talked about when she transitioned from elementary school in 5th grade to middle school in 6th grade, she was a perfectionist. And so many people, I think of how much she's helped me see this in other people and help other parents. Perfectionism is not a personality trait. It's a learned behavior, and it comes from insecurity of not being good enough. And so when your child is that's the time to dig in. That's the time to find the trigger. How do you feel when you don't get an A+ on a test? How do you feel when you aren't the star on the basketball team? How do you feel if you get in trouble in school because you were talking to a friend? How do you feel if you were wearing an outfit that someone made fun of? How do you feel if you ate lunch alone? Starting to ask those questions to see where is the trigger in the behavior. And so now I can look back. We worked a lot her whole middle school on that, because the perfectionism, the need to be perfect, the need to be accepted, liked, affected every single thing she did. I mean, she seriously did her locker combination. I don't know. I mean, we were there every day, multiple times a day, just to make sure that in crunch time and when she was stressed, that she wouldn't have to worry about it. Now, looking back, I wouldn't have allowed that. And it's not about saying that you don't allow that to them, but reframing what this is really meaning. It's coming from an insecurity. She had to walk her path of school. So now my hope in all of this is to be able to share our perspective so she can be real about hers and I can be real about like, whoa, I didn't know that. Or this is what I did know. This is what we did do. This is what helped. This is what didn't help. And this is suggestion. So she started having, she was anxious and all of that stuff before middle school. Was she like this before? Nope. She definitely Was she an overachiever? Yes, but she was a great student. She was social. She had friends. She was active. She was in a bunch of club sports that she loved. And so she managed being kind of busy well. And sixth grade, something changed though. Her friends weren't the same. They didn't look the same. They didn't act the same with who she thought they were. She was in different classes with different people, and she started having physical symptoms, tummy aches, headaches, anxious and not wanting to go to school. And then contrary, I don't know if that's the right word to use there, but then she would be anxious because she missed school, right? And then you're behind and you have to make up tests. And like, there was just this tug of war in what she really wanted at that time. And so, I knew that her physical stuff was because of an emotional trigger. And that emotional trigger came from not being good enough. She was smaller than average, went through puberty late 8th grade, early freshman, and not even fully. So she was like a little girl. And I imagine anybody who's listening to this that has a kid that didn't maybe grow into their adult frame early, it was a struggle. If you have a boy that was just a littler than average, not even going through puberty, but just smaller than average, there's definitely a struggle of fitting in, and not only in school, but for sure if they're in sports, it can definitely be a challenge. So just being aware of that. And so I noticed that she was pulling back, and the conversations we would have is, you need to lean in. And what I talk about now more than ever, not nearly as much when she was a 6th grader, 7th grader, 8th grader, but is when you're uncomfortable, that's when you have to lean in. That's when you have to go out of your comfort zone. That's when you have to initiate a conversation with somebody you don't know. That's when you have to go out of your way to help somebody. That's instead of retreating. And now it's so easy to retreat because there's so much social media. There's so much on our phone. There's so much YouTube. There's things that us as adults don't know. And so when you see that your kid is pulling away and being gaming all the time and only having online friends, and after school, after practice, after supper, your child is downstairs alone on their phone, that would be the first warning sign that something isn't quite right, especially at this age. And then her comment was one thing I loved about her comment was, just find a friend, like one friend that doesn't have to be perfect. She really struggled with needing that person to be perfect in every way. And one thing I said was like, you're going to have, she's a very well-liked person. She has tons of friends, right? Yet she didn't feel that strong, deep connection with anyone. Well, then be assertive and ask this person to do this, or find out what this person is interested in. And now you have 2 or 3 different people that you can have different conversations with, and go different places and experience different things and laugh together, watch a movie, whatever it is, find a friend. And then her going out of your way to acknowledge, I think that's one of the things that I admire so much about her is she feels what other people feel. She's an empath. She's empathic. And now we're working on how that empath is an amazing thing, but to have some boundaries on what that is, because you could see someone walking down the street or listen to the radio or watch the TV and watch some story and be moved in a way that might hold you back instead of push you forward. So understand what you need, what you can see, what you can listen to, and what you know that your body will respond with. The more we can teach our kids about that, about energy, about how they feel on the inside, about awareness, and I'll talk about this a lot because in my practice, this is one of the biggest things that I talk about, is the first thing you need to not be a victim in any situation is awareness. If we don't have awareness, we're always going to be the victim. We're always going to blame someone else. So how can we help our kids? I mean, if we think like that, it's downloaded into their brains. First, I mean, the major download of their brain is by 2 years. So they've been watching, listening, hearing, and truly genetically downloaded. And so now we can help them start to see a different perspective by first working it on ourselves, working on being aware of ourselves, of our environment, of being present, of focusing on connection, of face-to-face, voice-to-voice conversation that helps people be their best. And when we help them be our best, we become that. And so way more talk about energy and empath and how to handle a kid that is really sensitive to energy and struggles with any negative energy, or they come into a room and there's just too much. We'll talk about those things too. So I hope this helps. The biggest takeaways when your kid is pulling back, helping them to lean in. And the first thing I look at is, are they with their friends? And are they doing what they love? And I don't mean gaming, because of course they love to game or to be on YouTube, but they need connection. And sometimes we need to make sure they have it. Second, physical symptom is always a sign of an emotional emotion, essentially emotional stress. But get to the bottom of the emotion and the physical stuff will start to shift. Find a family chiropractor that also looks at those too, because they play with each other. And so getting back into that emotion, the positive emotion, or finding the trigger, that will start to shift how the emotional body responds. And then help them with friends. Number 3, help them with friends, how to be a good one, how to see a good one. Work on acknowledgement, working on being aware of your body and stepping out of that victim mentality and into true awareness in giving and accountability for yourself. So can't wait to do more of these. Oh my gosh, I have really, probably for the last 5 years, I have dreams that wake me up on writing a book with her, of speaking on a stage with her. This is one of the means with her because I think through the mouth of babes and through the mouth of moms, I truly feel in the depths of my soul that this is going to help so many people. So if you're listening and your friend is struggling with their kids, or they're struggling, or whatever the case, can you please forward? Can you please share? There's so much imbalance, and that's not the right word, but that's what I'm going to use for right now. There's so much imbalance between kids and parents right now, and I just feel like the essence of it, or the reason, is because of lack of connection and lack of being present, because we're in our struggle and we're distracted. We're so distracted that we're not in tune to ourselves or our family. And then that's who the kid becomes. So I think as a whole, we can help so many people. Thanks for listening. If you have any recommendations for topics, any questions, I'm going to just be tallying all these and getting them loaded. So we have a list of 12 to 15 things right now that we're going to start to knock off, and wherever the conversation needs to go is where it needs to go. I trust that. So thank you for listening. Thank you so much for listening and being willing to go all in. Ditch the excuses and the comfort zones and make a decision that nothing can stop you. You can find the show notes below, and I'd love for you to share, subscribe, and rate this podcast, but only if you love it.